Okay, so I'm going to go over some of the basics of analysis and approaches to playing jazz and improvisation for a jazz combo. Some of this stuff's going to be over your head, some of it may not be, depending on who you are. That's okay though. So pick what you can out of it, and we'll see about it where we are in a couple weeks here. And my advice to you as musicians is, as you progress, the same thing's going to happen. Is you're going to hear a lot of stuff about music, and you're just going to grab things and you're going to hold on to them. Some things you won't, and that's just kind of the process. And even when I went to college, they cram you full of knowledge that you can't use for years. And the same thing, like you might hear me say something and you won't know what it is for years, but that's fine because when you do hear it again, it might make more sense. So. Footprints, blues for Alice. Look at all these chord changes. Tons of chords. Every 2 beats almost there's chord changes, right? That's very complicated. But all of this kind of can boil back down to the 12-bar blues. So let's do a little review of 12-bar blues and what that is. 12-bar blues is extremely common in music, no matter what you listen to. In fact, in class I did an example that used everything from Charlie Parker, crazy bebop tunes, to modern day music, including like the Billie Eilish song. It's just a structure of chords in Western or American music that is just super common. And it is what it sounds like, 12 bars long. So here we are, 3 sections of chords here, okay? So when you're in a key of C, the star of the show is C. When you're starting in the key of B flat, the star of the show is B flat. It's not the most important thing in the world. It's actually the 5 chord, but we'll get into that later. But the key is the notes, the star of the show. So if we're playing a blues in C, that means C is really important. Okay, and that C we're going to give 4 whole measures. It's a star of the show for 4 whole measures, and that's fine. But if we stay on C, things get boring. So we do a chord change. We'll go to what's known as the 4 chord. C, D, E, F. 4 chords up from C. C, D, E, F. And the F chord is the star of the show for the next 4 measures. C chord, F chord. Okay. The next star of the show is actually the really important one, the 5 chord. Okay. We're going to make that one the star of the show for 4 measures, excuse me. So now we have C, F, G, and then we get back to C. Okay, and it just keeps going back and around and around and around again. Okay. That's our 12-bar blues. Not quite, but that's a good way to think about it, is the first 4 measures are all about the C chord, the next 4 measures are all about the F chord, and the next 4 measures are all about that G chord. Another way to write that is the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord. Okay? Really important. 1, 4, 5, 1. Okay? It's the basic of the basis of a lot of Western harmony. For the amen. Amen. Right? Or whatever. I'm not, I should have done that. Right? So that's the big thing right there. And the 5 chord definitely wants to resolve back to 1. There's the 5. Back to 1. It's this cycle that keeps going around and around and around and around. Okay? So the 1 chord's a little upset because it's supposed to be the star of the show, and it's saying, hey, F chord, you can't get as many measures as me. We're splitting yours up. Whoops, excuse me. So I'm taking back those 2, okay? Going back to that 1 chord. Okay, now we have 4 measures here, but now just 2 and 2. It's been split in half. So here we have a first measure going on. 1. Second measure. 3rd. 4th. Here comes the F chord. Okay, back to 1. That 1 chord wants to be the star show. Okay, we get to that 5. And the 1 chord's going, hey, wait a minute here. You're trying to be the star show now. Not gonna happen. Not gonna happen. Same thing's going to happen to you. 5 chord, taking back half of the measures there. Okay? So now we have, a little faster this time, first measure, second measure, third, fourth, F chord, second measure, back to C. 5 chord, C, or G, excuse me, back to the C. Okay. And now one thing, last thing happens here, and the F chord says, wait a minute. I'm at least the second star of the show here. I may not be a C chord, but I'm taking a measure back myself. Okay? We're going back to the 4 here, 5 chord. And the 5 chord says, wait a minute. If you're taking that, I'm taking back this one. Okay? And thus the 12-bar blues has been created. Now, the 1 chord's still a little upset, and the 1 chord's saying, I'm still the star of show. If I want this measure, I'm going to take it back. So sometimes that last measure is a C chord. Sometimes it's a G chord. If it's a G chord, the G chord goes back to here. If it's the end of the song, you might just land on 1 and skip that G chord altogether. Okay? So here, let's take a listen here. Oh, he wants to say hi, Francis. He's looking for his toy. I hit it because he was being noisy. Get out of here. All right, so here we are. Here's our 12-bar blues. Look at this. This is what I have to deal with. Get off of there. Get out of here. All right, so first measure, moving on. Oops, sorry about the cable. There we go. All right, here we go. No, get off of there. Okay. So a 1, sorry, 1, second measure, third measure, fourth measure, F chord, second measure, back to C. C again, G chord, F chord, C chord, back to G, back to 1. Now we're at the top again. All right, so that's the sound that we all know. F chord, back to C, G, F, C, turnaround chord, back to 1. And we're back to top. There's a 12-bar blues. Okay? So, this video is getting a little long, but you're going to want to be familiar with that. Okay? You'll find this in many, many songs. 1, 4, 1, 5, 4, 1, 5. 12 bars. Star of the show is a C chord. Star of the show is the F chord. Star of the show is the G chord. I know that there's other chords in there, but that's the way to remember. Starts with C, starts with C, F, starts with G. Everything else, and this chord progression 1, 4, 5, 1 is very common in music. So these are just extensions off of this, okay? All right, so let's look at footprints now. Obviously not 12 bars, so what the heck am I talking about? Well, let's look at this for a different way. If we think about it in 3/4, yes, it's not 12 bars, but if you think about it in 6/8, it is 12 bars. So let's look at the first measure here. First 2 measures. Let's say that that's 1 measure instead. In the next 2 bars, 1 measure. We're just kind of doubling up here. So if I make 2 bars 1 bar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 bars, okay? So now let's see how well this lines up. We are in a minor key. Don't worry about that quite yet. Just look at that C, okay? C. 1, 2, 3, 4. C for 4. F. 1, 2. F for 2. C for 2. That means the next chord should be G. Oh, no. It's a D. 1 measure instead of G. Then it goes to a D flat instead of F. But then we go right back to C again, and C lasts for the last measure. It takes back the last measure. So what's happening here? Is it a 12-bar blues? Yes, it is. Not quite, but yes, it is. These are just substitutions. Okay? So instead of G, we're doing a D. Instead of F, doing a D flat. That's what makes the song sound interesting. Instead of doing the same old, Wayne Shorter just decided to change it up a little bit. In fact, these changes are actually oversimplified. The real changes are a little bit more complicated, but we're still fine. We're still good. Okay? They're interchangeable. So now,